So what are we doing?
Welcome to the first ever episode of the Existential Stoic, or other names if we decide to change it later.
If we change the name later, we will. It'll be great.
With Randy and Danny.
Hello.
Hey, I am a doctor of veterinary medicine, and Danny is a Nietzschean scholar. And today we're going to be answering some of the most popular queries by state on Google in relationship to spirituality
And philosophical questions.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting if you look at these things, because depending upon the state, they all have different interests.
They really do, actually.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, like for instance, Alabama asks, "What is love?" California asks, "Why do I want to die?"
Well, they also ask, Alabama asks, what is love and how to study the Bible.
Right. That makes sense.
Which does make sense.
Yeah.
They get married at 16 and
then study the Bible. All right, we're good. We're starting off with some awesome generalizations. So
wild generalizations about states.
To our first drop listener from Alabama. Yeah. All right. So this is pretty interesting. I guess we'll read through some of them and then chat about whichever ones seem the most interesting. So, Alabama, what is love? How to study the Bible. Makes sense. Alaska asks a lot about Sikhism, Taoism, Zodiac, faith, and Scientology.
I can't even pronounce that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Baha'i.
Oh yeah, Baha'i faith. Yeah. Wow, Alaska is asking some serious questions though.
Yeah, they're kind of out there. I always heard that everybody who lives in Alaska wants to live there, because most of them actually had to move there.
Well, that would make sense too, right? Because it's hard to live in Alaska, I would imagine, because it's got to be either you're living on your own, right, more or less, or you're relying on yourself more because you're kind of like far away from things anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting to go with the more esoteric pursuits.
They really do.
Arizona says how to read palms and pantheism.
Interesting.
Arkansas, what's the meaning of life and why do we dream?
What is the meaning of life?
I think it's 42.
Is it?
Yeah.
It is. From the Hitchhiker's Guide?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
It is 42.
And apparently there's a speculation on that's why there's 21 million Bitcoin, because that's half of 42.
Really?
A million. Yeah, that's a theory. It's a theory.
But you know what's funny? It's in that kind of situation. It's like, I actually always respected, who was that? Was it Arthur T. Clarke? No. What was the guy that wrote that?
What?
The Hitchhiker's Guide.
No.
Clarke is different. That's somebody else.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Why can't I remember his name? And I feel bad now.
Yeah.
We'll look it up later.
Yeah.
Anyway, but, here, I found it already. That was fast.
Douglas Adams.
Yes, damn it. You got it right before I fucking found it. Anyway.
As soon as I stopped thinking about it, it came.
That's what happens all the time. I was going to say, what's interesting, what I liked about his answer of 42 is that it kind of points to the meaninglessness of the question.
Right?
Do you know what I mean? Like, the answer doesn't matter what the answer is, because you'll find the meaning. You'll make that answer meaningful anyway. If you think it is the answer to the meaning of life, you will make it meaningful, and that's the whole point. We make it meaningful.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't matter what answer you give, as long as somebody can, if they think it is the answer, they'll make it meaningful, and then they've effectively solved the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, like when I read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I'd never considered that was actually the answer. But maybe that is actually the answer.
What else would it be, though, right? I mean, like, if you, like, I don't know, I've been thinking about this a lot, too, because if you look at, like, all of human, really, social organization, and, like, we all want something, right? We want to have an answer, we want to have a purpose, we want to know why we're doing what we're doing, and, like, we want to be able to, like, look at our actions and be like, yeah, that was right, or that was good, and, like, if we don't have, I think it's just harder nowadays because we don't all necessarily kind of, like, agree to a system that provides those answers. So I think we just have to find that we have to make it meaningful, right? We have to make our own meaning, maybe. Maybe that works.
Yeah.
But I liked his answer, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great answer. Why do we dream? That's an interesting one, too, from Arkansas.
Are these both from Arkansas?
Yeah, they're obviously very deep thinkers.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Since we're generalizing about people,
we are wildly.
That, but yeah,
we'll continue to generalize wildly.
They have the Clinton Library there, so they could obviously do a bunch of research.
Is that? Oh shit, he's from
Arkansas,
Little Rock. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's true.
Yep.
Oh, I guess their library would. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
It never dawned on me that the fucking president's library would go where they were born.
That makes sense.
Or where they're from. It does make sense, I guess. Anyway.
California has two interesting questions, kind of both related but on opposite sides of the spectrum. Why do we have to die, and why do I want to die? It's like half of the people are asking based on I don't want to die, and the other people are saying I want to die.
I mean, the first one, though, like, why do we have to die is like, I mean, I guess we don't, right? I mean, scientists are trying to figure out how to do that thing with the cells so they don't age or whatever.
Yeah.
Which would take that, but I mean, at the same time, isn't that like the point of life?
But if you don't die, you theoretically can't live.
Yeah, because you don't. Life is an end and it's a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
And without that, you don't have any real. I mean, if you knew you would live forever, you have no real motivation to live, which is kind of the problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Tuck Everlasting.
Yeah,
story
right.
about the guy who lived forever. It wasn't a very interesting book. When I was young,
is also the problem with living forever.
When I was young, I thought it would have been really cool to live forever, but I'm 37 now, and it feels like I've lived forever.
You're only 37?
Yeah.
Shit, I'm older than you. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 38. Anyway, but yeah, you know it. Well, isn't that funny when you get older though? You don't want to necessarily live forever anymore.
I think because you suffer enough, and you're like, ah.
Maybe you suffer. You're right. Maybe you do suffer enough, and you also realize that like maybe it's also because like, you know, when you're younger, and like you talk to older adults or like people that you conceive of as older, but they're maybe not that old, maybe 20s or 30s, and you're like, man, I'll never think like them. Why do they all think like young kids are goofy or weird or have bad, weird ideas? And then you get older and you realize that's just what happens because it's like, you've been alive long enough, and maybe like everything would change so much that it would be hard to like. Because even a lot of the immortal-esque characters in stories ultimately do die, like, vampires and stuff like that. They're long-lived. They're not immortal, though. Mm-hmm. They're not, like, live forever, right?
Right.
They can die, and they often do. They just have very long lives. And that's different because it still has an end, and a beginning and an end. Yeah. Or a way out, maybe.
I kind of like the thought of from whence you came. Like, out of the Tao, we come, we're formed, and then we go back to it. Or like out of the universe we're formed, because we're all basically stardust if you look at it scientifically.
Yeah. Or all energy, right?
Or the spiritual way. Yeah. We're all formed from the universe.
It's funny. It's such a common view too in like pre-Socratic philosophy and stuff. Like if you look at like the Milesians, Thales and stuff. I mean, it's interesting because it is that idea that like we come from something and we have to return to it in the recycling process, right? Mm-hmm. Everything has to recycle, otherwise we'd run out of stuff. Yeah. That is interesting.
Yeah. So Colorado, a bunch of hippies out there, they search for the heart chakra.
Is that all? That was their main
That's
search?
what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Connecticut is existentialism.
Which is awesome.
Go figure.
Good for them.
Right? Yeah.
Should we define it? Nah.
I wouldn't even know how to. It's just the title of this podcast.
I know. I would call it an attitude, I guess.
Yeah. Delaware is Pentecost. Florida, what is my life purpose? And I've lived in Florida for a few years, and it seems like everyone down there is trying to figure out what their purpose is.
And failing miserably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, for wild generalizations.
Yeah.
But
I imagine the other question they ask most frequently on Google, how to drive a car, didn't make it because it's not a spiritual pursuit.
That's true. We did target spiritual pursuits, so that's why we are getting these questions. But what is my life's purpose? That's a tough question too, because that's like, I guess that's different than meaning, though, right?
Yeah, and it changes all the time, and...
Yeah. Well, they're both plastic, right? I mean, both of them should change all the time, I would think.
Yeah.
Based on what you're doing at the time and based on how you're living, it would change. But, I mean, also, I guess, what is my life's purpose also kind of suggests, too, I guess, like, who am I?
Yeah. It's a difficult question, because once you start asking, it's like a can of worms. Or a rabbit hole, because you can just keep on going. I just always imagine these people who never ask what's my life purpose. Their life just is what it is. They just do what they do, and that's it. And they never ask these deeper philosophical questions. And I imagine life is somewhat easier for them on some level because they don't have this psychological torment of trying to figure out what exactly is my purpose. Where am I going? What am I doing? Are my efforts worthwhile?
That's like literally the point of every existentialist literature. Like, every book written by an existentialist. Like, I mean, come on. Have you ever read Notes from Underground, right? You have. Or The Idiot.
A long time ago, yeah.
Or, like, you know, The Stranger, right? It's people that think and are... It's like... That whole idea of consciousness as a disease, right? Or, like, the absurdist plays, like Rhinoceros and stuff. Like, you know, like, the idea, like, you know... I mean, the animal life is easier, isn't it? Or not thinking is easier. Not to say that, like, you know, if you don't think about these things, you're an animal. But, like, to say, like, you know, like, the life where you don't ponder those questions would be easier because you're just either doing what you're supposed to do or you're not burdened by all the stress and suffering that comes with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt.
It is.
And you don't have a future or a past.
Yeah, to worry about.
The anxiety of the future and the depression from the past.
It's amazing how depressed and anxious we are.
Yeah.
And that we're still alive.
You mean you and me as a people?
Yeah,
or just in general?
Both of us. I mean us. I mean, it's amazing how depressed and anxious we are all the time.
Yeah.
It's surprising. As a people, too. I think it seems to be getting worse. Especially in this country, man. It's getting... Yeah. Or, I mean, I'm sure it is everywhere. I shouldn't generalize just the United States, I guess. But, like, it seems like it's getting worse, doesn't it?
It definitely does. And I think it's because... I was watching City Slickers last night.
Oh, that's a good movie.
I know, right?
I haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah, watch it again because it's a completely different movie from when you watched it 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, because I'm also 20 years older. I can't believe that. I forgot about the movie entirely. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and so Curly, the cowboy in that, is like, the secret to life is this, and he points his finger towards the sky. And Billy Crystal's like, what, your finger? And he's like, no, one thing. You just do one thing and say fuck it to everything else. And then if you just... Because I think we get so distracted and fractured in what we're doing. Like, everybody has so many pursuits and so many things going on and so many coals in the fire that we're never able to actually focus on something enough to derive benefit from it to where we could get joy from it. But also... when you have that much stuff going on, it's just easy to...
You know what's funny? I was talking about that with my students in my existentialism class last spring. But the idea, like, you know, with friendship, right? Like, you know, social media and stuff, people... It's like more acquaintances, I guess, and it's like it's the quantity that matters, not quality always, right? So people, you're always trying to get more and more, but you're also extending yourself in a wider area, right? And like you do better, like the idea of having like a really good friend that you like put time in the relationship, invest in it, right? And you get a lot from it because you do that. And like and it's the same principle like you're talking about, right? When we spread ourselves thin on all these different pursuits, we're not really doing any of them like with our full attention, with our full self. We're not really learning the skill fully, and that's fine. Like, it's good to have hobbies and shit, you know, and to do things like that, but yeah, it's interesting. God, we have so many problems.
Right?
Holy
so Georgia
shit.
asks, what is nothing and how to forgive? Those are the questions from Georgia. Now,
I wonder why they asked.
Interesting aside. What is nothing? Yeah, interesting aside. So the number 0 didn't exist for a long time.
Yeah, it didn't.
Yeah. You know, with the numerals that we know them.
Well, there wasn't negatives either for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But negatives actually came before 0.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No shit, I didn't know that. That is interesting.
Yeah, negatives came before 0. And the 0 was actually apparently found in meditation.
Oh.
Like somebody contemplated the idea of 0,
of nothing,
of a number having no value, or
oh, that's interesting. So they contemplated the idea of nothingness or like pure impartiality, I guess, or something, and then came up with a numerical expression of it.
Yeah.
Weird. That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Kind of a recent.
I wonder what
addition.
Like, what is nothing? I wonder what context they meant that in. This is spiritual questions, right?
It's nothing. What is no thing? Nothing. Yeah.
Well, that's the other way to read it, right? What is no thing? Because I think when people read it, you read it differently when you read what is nothing versus what is no thing.
You know, maybe they have a business down in Georgia called Nothing.
They might,
and it's really popular, and everybody's like, "What?" It's like the new Uber down in Georgia. Called Nothing.
What is nothing?
Like, what is nothing?
What is this? I keep seeing these advertisements for nothing. Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Hawaii is Shinto, reincarnation, and Feng Shui.
What do you think of reincarnation?
I kind of hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that you kind of got to keep on going until you get it right. Because I know in life you have problems and you keep having these same problems until you address that issue and move on. And it's just like you spend a whole lifetime doing that, but then like you have more than a whole lifetime to do it.
Yeah. Well, the beauty of life is you can also deny things, forget about them, and you can also kind of just ignore them, and in essence sort of move on from them, even though you don't really, and you never deal with it. Reincarnation, you have to face that shit over and over, and it might be worse.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you, from what I remember correctly of the karmic cycle and all that, like if you do poorly,
bad, you might come back as a rock.
Yeah, you have to go back to the lower levels, right? And like presumably human beings are the higher level, I guess, depending on how you look at it. So
Yeah.
I guess you did something right before as a bug or whatever, but yeah. Anyway.
Idaho asks relationship between religion and science.
Well, that depends. Idaho.
I guess they're trying to figure out. You know, science is kind of new. Religion's been around a lot longer.
Yeah, it has. And science is sort of new, and especially too, like you know what's crazy? Like, I was just talking about this in an environmentalism class, and I feel like it's worth mentioning because it's interesting. But, you know, it was like in, I think in 1850, that idea that, like, the point of science and technology is to dominate nature. That idea from the Enlightenment really took hold, which also, I mean, look at the world around us right now, right? Like, we use science and technology to literally wrestle nature, to make it do what we want. And it's amazing because, like, you know, when you read a lot of environmentalists, like, they argue, you know, like, we could be doing something different with science and technology. We could be using it to try and, like, live harmoniously with the natural world, right? Instead of constantly putting a wall between ourselves and the natural world. And it would be interesting, but it'd be totally different. And it's a totally different way of thinking. So it's like selling that point is also very hard. But anyway, yeah. I just thought it's interesting point.
Not using it as well as we could.
Yeah, and we're not getting the most out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the interesting part is they both rely on faith. You know, like people understand that in order to have religion, you got to rely on faith somewhat. But science relies on faith too.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does.
Because every scientific hypothesis is not true. It's just true until proven.
It's the best answer we have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to look at it. It's not, but it's not true. It's not fact in the absolute or objective sense. Yeah.
You just have faith that because it's been proved true so many times that it'll still hold true, like gravity, for instance.
Or you have faith that it's because it's the best explanation we have to make sense of the world, that it will continue to make sense of the world.
Yeah, like the theory of gravity. Stuff gets pulled towards bigger objects, things fall.
Well, you know, I always like that, though, about science, because the one thing about Nietzsche loves, like, that mindset, too, because it's like that experimental mind where it is like a faith where you trust it because it's been proven right, but you're always open to the idea that it might be wrong. So like you always are open to the idea that it might need to be changed, right? Later. And I think that's an interesting way to live, because you kind of like you prevent yourself from getting closed-minded in a way. Does that make sense? You stay open-minded and stay sort of more fluid in your living. Yeah.
Illinois asks, why do bad things happen to good people? Apparently good people in Illinois are getting screwed.
They're having trouble. I don't know a lot about Illinois. Or any state, to be honest.
I'm just shocked that, like, this is the top question that comes up on Google in terms of spirituality.
It is interesting.
You know?
Why do good things... Yeah, because a lot of good people must be feeling bad in Illinois. Yeah. I don't know why good things happen to bad people... Or bad things happen to good people, I mean.
Well, bad things happen to bad people, too.
Yeah, that's true.
But I always thought that, like, bad people were a lot more opportunistic than good people. And also good people tend to have, like, the poor me mentality. Like, bad people tend to not give a shit, and they'll just
more egoistic.
Yeah. And when bad stuff happens, they'll say, whatever, I'll just keep on doing until I get my way. Whereas good people will be like, why did bad things happen to me? I'm such a good person.
Oh, wallowing, like, kind of in it, whining, and not really, like, moving forward, and yeah. And
also the expectation that there's some type of justice in the world.
Yeah, right. Well, that
should happen to good people.
That's the other issue, right? Is that there's some cosmic system that balances it out somehow, and there clearly isn't. Or if there is, it's one we don't understand, and so, you know, we don't have insight into it.
Yep. Indiana, their neighbor asks, when will the world end? Also searching for Hinduism and Confucianism. So, yeah, when will the world end?
When will the world end?
I thought it was going to end so many times.
Remember 2000?
Yeah.
When the
they thought the
Y2K,
clock.
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But why? We thought the world was going to end because of that? I that's still confusing to me. We would have had technological issues.
Yeah, it would have. They thought that all technology was going to crash.
Oh, right. Didn't they think, like, at one point, didn't somebody, like, think that, like, this is going back 20 years. Jesus Christ. Didn't somebody think that, like, the nuclear weapons would have launched or something absurd?
Yeah,
and nothing happened.
Just like any computers would have just failed at that point because they would have rolled back their clock because they didn't have, they weren't planned for it.
The other big one was 2012. Because they had predicted the end of the Mayan calendar.
Right.
Nicely forgetting that it's a fucking circle. Transition.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a null question because, if the world ends, like, for instance, in terms of, like, what we're doing to the environment, global warming, I mean, things aren't looking great for humanity, but if humanity ends...
The world doesn't.
The world doesn't, and the world actually goes better.
Yeah.
It does much better without humanity.
You know, it's crazy. That's the other thing, right? We could wipe ourselves out, and we could have we could have the sixth extinction, so to say, right? But life will still be around, and it might look we could have dinosaurs again. You don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
And look at, the shortness of the time span that humans have been here, like 100,000 years. Versus dinosaurs, which was like
250 million?
Yeah, 250 million, yeah.
We're like a fucking nothing in comparison. It's insane. And they didn't get very far because they didn't have technology to dominate nature.
Yeah.
That was their problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I read this somewhere. I don't remember where, so I have no way to support this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
We don't need evidence.
You don't need any evidence for anything. No, but I had read somewhere that, like, this was a long time ago, but that every generation thinks the world's going to end during their time. Like, it has something to do with, like, importance.
The ego.
And the ego, right? Like, like, oh, it's going to be during our time that this all falls apart because obviously, right, it would make sense that it's now because I'm here. Yeah. And, like, I want to see it.
It's crazy how much of a dominance the ego has. Like, a lot of people don't even realize it because they think of egoism as, like, I'm better than everyone else. Egoism.
Like.
But there's the exact flip side of that egoism that I'm not as good as everyone else.
Yeah,
that's also egoism.
It is, yeah.
And it's so prevalent, but most people don't see it.
No, it's amazing though. It is, and like it's always there though, because it's like self-preservation, right? It's always behind. But
I'm just laughing because I saw Louisiana, but we'll get down to that in a little bit.
Oh, that looks awesome! I can't wait to get there. Oh, that's great. Anyway, we'll move on then.
Yeah. So I was Jainism.
Jainism, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't that New Jersey too?
New Jersey also.
Weird.
Apparently pretty popular.
Interesting.
We'll have to look that up.
Jainism is a form of Buddhism.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look it up.
Kansas, Hinduism, Islam, and Quran.
Interesting. Of all places, I wouldn't have thought that.
I would have thought the most.
You know what's funny though? Is like the the Abrahamic religions is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all based on the same text, essentially.
Right.
You get the tack on because you got the New Testament, you have the Quran, but they're all based on the same thing. And they have the same basic figures in them. It's interesting that they're so,
against each other.
Yeah, conflicting at times. And it is weird that they search that. I don't know.
Kentucky asks, what do Muslims believe? Again, interesting search from Kentucky.
Is. Yeah.
I'm actually quite surprised.
It's kind of nice if they're trying to learn more about people that are different from them. That's a nice sentiment. I don't know if that's... I imagine that's what it is, right? That sounds like curiosity.
Think innocently and justly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's say yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Louisiana. So they asked about Catholic Church, how to pray the Rosary, and the important question: is masturbation a sin?
It is not.
And there you have your answer.
That is the answer. Yeah. It's not. It would be absurd if it was. How many times have you seen your dog hump a bed?
Right, exactly. Dolphins jerk each other off.
Dolphins do it.
Monkeys do it.
Yeah, I mean, everything does it.
French bulldogs will actually do it with their hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. Think about that.
Yeah.
So any animal, basically, that will.
Yeah.
So it can't be.
That's a good logic. But in the Bible, though, does it say it's a sin?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, missing. So like, one definition of sin is missing the mark.
Yeah, one definition of sin is missing the mark.
And potentially the mark was to procreate.
Mm-hmm.
Because if everybody was just masturbating all the time, then there would be relatively little procreation.
And I should also say that too. Like from an Aquinas sort of like natural law theory, it is because they only think that sex is moral when procreation is possible. Mm-hmm. So that's why they don't like condoms, right? Because any type of intervention means that through the act of love, you're supposed to be able to create new life, right? And if that possibility is not there, well, then it's problematic. So masturbation would technically be a sin on that note, but I don't agree with that. That's my point.
I just had this thought in my mind while you were saying that, of all the very religious girls who are like, I'm saving my virginity, you can do me in the butt.
Yeah, right.
But anyway.
Well, you're still saving yourself, I guess.
Maine, similar to California, has a very suicidal sentiment. I want to die, and then also carpe diem. So,
right. Hey.
Just same exact thing. Both sides of the spectrum.
But you know what? They are two sides of the coin, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to live life in the moment, and you also want to die.
Day. Yeah.
Maybe that's like an acceptance of death because you're seizing the day and you're doing crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. Once you start contemplating your own mortality, then you realize you better start living, because...
We were talking about suicide the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've known a lot of people that have done it.
Mm-hmm. Surprisingly.
I feel like statistically we've known a lot of people that have done it.
Yeah, shocking number.
A shocking number. Yeah. And like, it is weird. Like, and I know it is statistically it's white males are also at a higher percentage. Isn't that correct? Yeah.
Yeah. And also statistically way more people die from suicide than from coronavirus. And it doesn't get nearly the amount of publicity.
No, and it should have more attention, really. Because when we were talking about it, too, it's like I understand it in certain cases. I absolutely do. I think like euthanasia, but I think that's something different, though. Euthanasia that's mercy killing in a situation usually where it's medically necessary or like severe depression. You know, when there's no other way and your quality of life is miserable, but you know, it's final. There's no other options after that, so it's a tough one. Yeah, unfortunately, it is. It is unfortunate.
It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem most of the time.
It is,
unfortunately. But
on a lighter note,
Marilyn asks, "What is beauty?"
That's
it's in the eye of the beholder.
It is. Well, it's in the eye of the beholder. It's form. Who knows, right? Yeah. Beauty is an interesting. I've taken so many fucking philosophy classes on aesthetics, dude, and beauty is a funny concept because, like, if you think about it logically, like, right, if you are studying art or looking at art and you define beauty, well, you inadvertently just nixed a lot of art, right, from being beautiful and stuff that people find beautiful. So it has to be subjective because obviously, like, you know, you've been to a museum. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of stuff you'll value, but you also value art for different reasons too. I think that's the other problem, right? Because you might value art for spiritual reasons. You might value art because of the skill involved. Like, you look at the old Dutch masters and stuff. Like, I don't necessarily like all their paintings, but man, they're incredible. Like, and they were creating all that stuff that they needed, all their materials. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. When I used to study pickup, I found something really interesting that oftentimes people that you're attracted to are attracted to you as well. Like attracts like. And so even though you may think they're very attractive, somebody else might not, but they'll probably think you're attractive as well, which is pretty cool.
That is interesting. I thought that was also based on our pheromones too, though.
Yeah, that too. And because also people look alike. You ever realize how people in relationships look alike? It's basically they just like looking in a mirror, and it's like, you're the closest thing to a mirror.
Well, you want to fuck yourself, but you can't. Well, you can, but it's just not the same.
Right.
That's the whole masturbation problem. But you know...
Fortunately, it's not a sin.
Yeah, thankfully. When it's yourself, you're okay.
Yeah.
You kind of gotten around that whole problem. Mm-hmm. But what... I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Massachusetts asks, is there life after death?
No.
Yeah.
Answered. Sorry, guys. Yeah, there might be. I don't know. I don't think that... Well, no. I should say no, because I don't think... If you mean by life, biological life, no. I don't think there's life after death, and I think that maybe we're asking the question wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, working as a veterinarian, I get to see a lot of death. Like, probably averaging one euthanasia a day. I'm not sure if that says
Woo!
much for my skills as
The
a veterinarian.
practice is going really well, though.
Yeah. But
Everybody brings their animals there to die.
yeah.
No.
I mean, once they're dead, they are dead.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like the spark, like the spirit leaves them. The body's still there.
You know, it's interesting. You know, I think if I remember correctly, one of the ways to interpret the Greek word for soul is like life force. You know, like the difference between a corpse and a living person. The soul. You know, like it's the life force or whatever. But like, it is interesting because once something is dead, it's dead, and like, you know, so to say that there's life after death, I think one of the problems with that is like you imply like something similar to this. You know what I mean? And I think that's maybe not the right way to think of it. Whatever it is, maybe that's not correct, because you're kind of like, you're assuming it's going to be the same thing or something similar, or even a conscious self, and that's, you know, it's weird because we have this consciousness, and it's like, it is so weird having consciousness, isn't it? Like,
totally.
Because you have this sense of self, you have this identity, you feel like it's fixed over time, so why would it go away, right? But it's not fixed over time, it's changed dramatically. You have that sense of like, sameness.
Yeah.
And it's very weird.
Yeah. And also, where does that thing go? That life force, that spirit, that spark, whatever.
Yeah.
Because that could go somewhere else, and I mean, who knows? You know, like when you dream, when you go to sleep at night, and when you wake up, where do you go in between there?
Yeah.
Because there's stuff happening.
And your conscious self can have lots going on, right? And you know, it's interesting. What was it? Anaxagoras said it was the nous mind. Yeah, I don't know, consciousness kind of. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. And like, is there a different thing for like plants and animals than for people and whatnot? Yeah. I heard a commercial the other day, by the way. This is totally on the side, but it was we can edit it out. But there was we won't. Not gonna do that. But it was about a pet, a place that does burials for pets in New Jersey. I don't know the name, but it was funny because at the end of the commercial they were like, "Let us help you bring your animal across that rainbow bridge." And I was like, isn't the rainbow bridge, that's Norse, isn't it? Mythology.
Probably.
I think, isn't that like Thor?
Yeah.
The rainbow bridge, right? Yeah. I mean, we all know that from Marvel.
Yeah.
And that we know that's a good source.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
which is interesting.
Well, hopefully they'll be one of the sponsors for the show.
Yeah, we'll see.
Later on. Brought to you by New Jersey Pet Cemetery.
Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
We'll bring them back to life.
Michigan asked, what is evil? And for that, you also got to ask, what is good?
That is the problem, right? It's that flip side again, two sides of the same coin. Is it a sliding scale, though?
Yeah, it's totally subjective.
Yeah,
100%.
that's the
there
problem,
are some
right?
things that are thought of as like societal evils. So like in general, most people say, yeah, that's evil. But like, how many times have you been in an argument with someone and you're like, I'm right, they're wrong, I'm good, they're evil, and they're probably thinking the same exact thing.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, isn't it? Or, you know, you think of like, I mean, anything. Think of like a war. You know, both sides think they're good. It would be fucking insane to think you weren't good, like, and doing the right thing, and still going through with it. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
So unless we're all insane, which we might be, I think that it is very subjective and it's very hard to pin down. It also kind of depends on a tacit worldview, which is also sort of the issue.
No.
And, you know, evil depends on sort of a perspective and a whole set of beliefs. So, you know, I don't know how we can define that on Google. I'm not criticizing the question, I just have issues with it.
Yeah, Minnesota looks up Paul the Apostle.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of Minnesotians need Paul for some
know
reason?
about Paul. I always find good things from people named Paul.
I don't know a lot of Pauls.
Yeah. I only know 3.
Oh shit, I know some Pauls. Never mind, yeah, because I know St. Paul's, a lot of St. Pauls you know.
Yeah.
I forgot about them.
Yeah. Mississippi. Once the cars go by. Mississippi asks, is God is real? Bible, what is love?
Is God real? Bible? And
So
what
the
is
Bible,
love?
I totally understand why they search that.
Yeah. Is God real is an interesting one to search.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what's interesting about that question, I guess, is that humanity has like posited some type of thing, right? Forever. Which is interesting. And like you said, science is much younger than religion and belief. But it's also a means to explain, so I don't know. It's a tough one because it kind of makes sense that we posit a God because we see what we're capable of doing, and then it's like we can create the world, sort of, at least in our immediate world. So we imagine a thing that could create in a broader scale.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can create babies, so we imagine something that could create us, right? Because it's like that whole chicken and egg problem, right? Where the hell did they come from?
Yeah.
And you can't have matter coming out of thin air, so you need something, right?
And we imagine we're made in the likeness of God.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to create. I mean, but also like the creation itself, like the act of creating, is some of the most pleasurable experiences you can have in life.
Yeah, it's also considered very divine too, I think, in a lot of cases. Like, you know,
when you're being creative, when you're doing artistic stuff, when you're building something new, when you're making a podcast, when you're making love, all these creative acts, those are really fun, joyous
and some of the
things.
most powerful things we can do, right?
Yeah.
And the most pleasurable things we can engage in.
Yeah. Then
I'm enjoying myself right now. And then there's destruction.
Yeah, the other side of it.
I've also done that.
Uh-huh.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then they ask, what is love? Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know.
They have some strong questions in Mississippi.
They do. They have some difficult ones.
Yeah.
Jeez, very, very general.
Oh my gosh. Missouri.
Wait, hold on.
Missouri. Where in the Bible does it say that homosexuality is a sin?
Man, Missouri.
Either they have a bunch of people aiming to come out of the closet real soon, or a bunch of people who really want to know a reason why.
A bunch of people on the DL that really want a reason to come out. They're like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do? Where does it actually say it? Show me the page, the number, cite it, annotate it.
I need proof.
I want to know. I think you know what's funny though? Here's the other interesting thing about that, right? You talk about like the Old Testament, the New Testament. These are books that were written, because we're talking about the Bible, right? These are books that were written a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Over 1,000 years, 1,000 plus years, depending on what you're talking about. A lot of these things that they say were also kind of important because communities were being harmed. Like the shellfish thing, right? Like, they didn't want people to eat certain things because they were getting sick from it.
Right.
So it wasn't necessarily that they were saying like, times change, sometimes things have to change with it, right?
Yeah.
And these recommendations were a recommendation for a community to survive at the time and to thrive. And so like, if you think back to like, I was watching a show about like ancient Rome, and they were saying like these big cities in ancient Rome, they only had like 4,000 or 10,000 people. Think about New York's got what, like 10 million or something?
Mm-hmm.
So you think about these small communities and like, yeah, okay, so, doing certain things might limit the amount of people and stuff like that, so maybe they would say that it's wrong, but it doesn't, times change, so maybe these things should change too, I guess.
Yeah.
Is one way to look at it.
And it seems like in all of the sexual rules in the Bible,
they
all want to promote procreation.
Yeah, that's what they want to do.
Because the things that are immoral or wrong are masturbation, bestiality, homosexuality. All of those you participate in, you will not be able to create life.
Well, nobody wants to have sex with somebody who just had sex with a sheep. I mean, that's just, that's usually true.
You have sex with one sheep, and then they call you a sheep fucker the rest of your life.
All of a sudden, you're targeted. There's a big thing on your back. No, it's interesting, too, because it's funny, like the Greeks, I mean, they practice homosexuality a lot. And a lot of it, did you know, was to protect the actual lineage, like the name?
I did not.
So, like, if for instance, like, if you knew that your husband was out sleeping around, if he's sleeping around with men, he can't have any other kids. So you don't have to worry about the family line, you don't have to worry about your children, you don't have to worry about inheritance or nothing like that, There's no issue.
Go figure.
So if they want to go screw around, at least if they screw around with other guys.
Go figure.
Hey.
I had no idea.
Solve the problem.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Montana asked what happens when you die. So a lot of people are all about what happens after death.
It's interesting. I wonder too,
Reincarnation.
And this is something I wonder a lot, but there's no answer to it, I guess, right now. But I always wondered if that's like, people have asked these questions obviously forever, so it's always going to be something we ask. We can't get around that because it's the unknown, right? It's the big unknown. One thing we know is that we die. We don't know what happens after, right?
Yeah.
That's the issue. And we're born. We're just thrown in. It's like like the existentialists say, right? You're thrown into existence. You only know one thing. You're gonna die.
I kind of look at it like similar to what happens when we go to sleep.
Yeah, kind of like, or even like, I always thought of it too, like the state before I was born, right?
I too.
Just that's it, and like, I mean, in a certain sense, it's peaceful,
right? Yeah.
Because I wasn't bothered by it until I was thrown into this shit.
I know. Yeah.
Arguably till I was like 4 and I actually had memories, but whatever. That's besides the point.
Nebraska asks, what is hell?
Interesting, Nebraska?
Yeah.
I think that depends on...
I think because they have really cold, brutal winters there.
You think?
They're like, is this hell?
Is this hell or is hell hot? I'm confused.
Nevada is how to hypnotize someone.
Well, there's a drug.
Yeah.
Whatever that... What is that called? Do you remember? The zombie drug or whatever?
bath salts?
No. No, and I wasn't thinking that you were going to say Rohypnol too, and I wasn't thinking of that either. No, there's that one that they like, I know there's that one that's like I know that I've seen it in TV and stuff where they like, it like makes somebody like a zombie.
Oh.
And they can like, and they forget, kind of like being roofied, I guess, but different. Like
Forget-me-nots.
Sort of, yeah, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. You can like move around and stuff and all, and they just don't remember. It's interesting. Anyway, so there's that.
And then, but I've been hypnotized. Have you been hypnotized?
I don't think so, but maybe.
Yeah.
When were you hypnotized? You were hypnotized in high school, weren't you, during that thing?
No. I actually went there to quit smoking.
Did it worked?
Yeah.
Wow, man, I should do that. Damn.
Yeah, 100%.
I've never tried that.
Yeah, Frank
I should
Perry.
try that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He will hypnotize you to quit smoking. And
Wow.
it works. Yeah.
It works?
Lifetime guarantee, too.
Really?
If you go back, he'll do it again. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I should try that.
Amazing.
I did not know that.
We'll put links down in the comments for anybody who's interested.
Yeah. I gotta quit smoking, dude. It's expensive and it's not.
Yep.
The health thing, I don't know how much I care about that much, but I mean,
it's gotten
it's
super expensive.
Yeah, is it? Oh yeah, cigarettes. Yes, I thought you said he did. I thought you were talking about the guy hypnotizing. No. I was like, why would his prices change?
No,
cigarettes are insane, dude.
Yeah.
You figure figure $10 a day, multiply that by 365. That's $36.50 a year. That's insane.
Yeah, by 30 years, that's a $1.5 million habit you got.
Yeah,
there.
that's insane.
People wonder why they aren't millionaires.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I could have been. I just smoked cigarettes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
New Jersey, like that other place, what was that? Iowa.
we're all thinking the same, apparently.
Jainism.
Yeah. Again.
Jainism,
Whatever.
Jainism.
It doesn't matter. As long as we pronounce it sort of and people can look it up later. It's more phonetic, I think, that matters.
Yeah. We'll put a link to this article in the
Wow,
comments,
New Mexico's got a lot of things.
Yeah, purgatory, astral projection, Jehovah's Witnesses, and how to suicide.
How to suicide? It's a weird way to phrase the question.
How to grammar.
I guess, yeah. I guess they were looking for a how-to on suicide, right? Would that be the right way to interpret that?
It's shocking that people actually need kind of instructions
it's
for
not
it.
hard.
They look it up, yeah.
No, I know. It's actually surprising. I've always wondered that. There's so many ways to do it, and it's a shame. It's not difficult. That's that's the other crazy part. If you really think about it, like, we have this life, and it is so easy to get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the unfortunate part.
It's like, it really is. I mean, you could just walk out in front of a car or something. I don't need to give people ways to do it.
Yeah, we don't
but
need,
we're not going to do that.
Through different ways.
But the point is it's simple. But, okay, so you have purgatory, which I always found an interesting concept.
The best thing to do if you're ever typing how to suicide is call the suicide prevention hotline.
Yes, call them.
Simple as that.
Yeah, they actually have a text service too now, I believe. I know there's one in New Jersey. But yeah, contact somebody. That's all you got to do. Contact someone, talk to them first, and then go from there. You can always make that decision later.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it now.
Exactly. New York, how to live forever, and daily horoscope and Torah.
Not surprising. Actually, none of those are surprising for New York.
This is so typical for New York.
I feel like it is, right? You live in New York, you want to live forever.
Yep.
Keep conquering the world, I guess, with your fucking $80 million apartment.
Superstitious with a daily horoscope, and it's the largest Jewish population outside of Israel.
It really is, yeah.
Looking for the Torah.
That all makes sense. North Carolina, no kidding.
What is consciousness?
I feel like I could say something negative about that question about North Carolinians, or positive. I don't know which way to go with it.
Well, we're trying to get rid of as many listeners as we can.
We are. I don't want to. No, that is interesting. That's an interesting question though, because what is consciousness? How would you define it?
It's the.
Is it just self-awareness?
So much. It's like the idea that I am able to, that I have thoughts about myself.
Right, so it's a subject experiencing the world, right? It's something with self-awareness of some sort.
Yeah.
I always found it interesting that certain animals, if you put them in front of a mirror, will identify with the image in the mirror as themselves, whereas other animals don't recognize it. So like elephants, if they take like a lipstick and they mark their head and they look in the water or a mirror and see their reflection, they'll try and get the mark off because they know it's their face or their head. Wow. But like, I've seen my cats and my dogs freak out because of the mirror because they think it's like another animal. They don't recognize what they look like.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting when you think like what is different about them, right? Because I still think,
should we use the mirror test as a consciousness test?
I don't know. No, but see, that's the other interesting thing is I don't think that's a good consciousness test because I think it's a test for recognition of self, right? In a mirror. Okay? So it's a recognition of one's own reflection. But the interesting thing that I this is where I fall on, I'm not sure about it, is I guess that I've seen my dogs and cats also express what I would consider emotions of some sort, not to personify too much, right? Like, I've gotten the cold shoulder from my cat, the one, Calvin, when the first time we left for 4 days and came back, he was very upset with us for having left, right? And so they show emotional responses of some sort, but they're not. So maybe it's like, I would say that consciousness goes on a scale of, it's a degree, right? So it's like a sliding scale. Same with intelligence. It's all a matter of degree, and I don't know. That was a long answer. Not really answering anything. Go ahead.
All right.
We'll go.
Well, North Carolina, you have your answer there.
Yeah, it's a good one, though. It's a good question.
North Dakota looks up Lutheran Church and Trinity.
I don't have much to say about either.
Ohio, another one that asks, does God exist?
Wasn't that, or no, is God real? It's Mississippi.
Yeah.
So Ohio and Mississippi, you guys should check it out together, I guess.
Yeah, you could be sister states.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, what religion is Donald and Melania Trump?
None.
Yeah, I think it would be...
well, they're Christian, I guess, technically, right?
I was going to make a joke about being capitalist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what they are. They really are capitalists. I mean, he held the Bible upside down in the fucking picture.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably had never held one in his life.
Right.
He was like, what is this thing, a book? No, anyway.
Yeah. I think capitalism is his religion.
It's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. Oregon, Muhammad and Muslim.
Interesting.
Right? These places that asked
Oregon, that's interesting. I thought it doesn't matter, I guess, but
Pennsylvania, what is heaven like? What am I doing with my life?
Ooh. I don't know, Pennsylvania. Our one of our next door neighbors.
Yeah, right? What is heaven like? They did have that story of like a few people who had near-death experiences and got to see what heaven was like. I think there was that book, Is Heaven for Real, or something like that.
There was something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also that there was also the thing too that I had heard that they said, when people have a near-death experience and they say like their life flashes before their eyes, or you get the common experience of like the bright light and all.
Yeah.
There was something to do with I know scientists had said there was some sort of hormone or something released.
Yeah, like DMT.
It's sort of It's something at the very, like, when your body knows it's in like that moment, I guess, that it releases this and it has a very like euphoric, very sort of hallucinatory aspects to it, and so you get these sort of commonalities in experience. And it raises questions, because again, you could say, well, okay, maybe it's all biological, maybe it's just a physical thing, right? Like it's a physical basis for something, our mental projections, right? Or it could be that, yes, that happens and this is separate, so who knows? I mean, that's the other issue, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I mean, I guess what is heaven like? You also, it's the assumption that you're going to get there too, I guess, right? Hopefully.
Well, to see if it's worthwhile to try and get there.
Well, that's why they're also asking, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Oh, God. How do I get there?
Yeah, right? That's such a common question. What am I doing with my life?
I know.
You know what? I honestly think it's due to social media and all of this stuff. Because back in the day, you work on a farm, you wake up, you work yourself to the bone. You don't have time to think about these things. And then when you're not working, you don't have all these external sources of all these people with like luxury yachts and perfect bodies and all this different stuff
thrown in your face constantly.
Yeah, so you don't even have these questions. Like,
you weren't even aware of it.
When you're done working, you collapse in a chair, you grab a cold beer, and then you just sit and watch.
Not to mention too, you might have a palace or something, but it'd be a far off thing. You never really see it. You don't see really what's inside. Once in a while, it's like you don't have the same sort of constant affirmation and confirmation of it all the time. And it's interesting too, it's like, if you think about it too, like, life for most people, probably, 100 years and more in the past, most of their day was probably spent around food. Making food, getting food, growing food, figuring out how they're going to eat. Yeah. Like, now, food's such an afterthought. It's like we have all this goddamn time. And it's like, we struggle. Of course we do.
Yeah.
Dude,
we have food in excess.
We progressed so fast in the last 100 years. We're flying in the air. I mean, when you really think about it, we all carry supercomputers in our pockets. We're flying in the air. It's insane. We don't even have to remember stuff.
Yeah. And we're missing out on the things that are enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, I was listening to Henry Ford's autobiography. In the first chapter of that, he was talking about the creation of machines and how people used to toil out in the fields all day long. And the whole idea behind creation of machines was so that people would have more time to enjoy nature.
Yeah.
Because we're surrounded by this beauty, but we're working so hard we don't have any time to enjoy it.
We didn't have any time to actually appreciate it, and now we have that time, and what do we do with it?
Watch Netflix.
Yeah, we watch Netflix, and we don't go outside, or we watch a documentary on beautiful places instead of going out there. And if you go out there, you get away from all of it. It feels good. Go outside.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Go outside.
Yeah, you know, it's funny too, like, I don't know, it's interesting. It is so... Why is life so complicated? That's what I would have searched.
42.
Right? It is.
Yeah.
It always is.
Yep.
Anyway.
So Rhode Island is past life regression, horoscope daily, and nihilism.
Oh, I love nihilism.
Yeah.
You know, past life regression is interesting because I have to say it's funny, I don't know why I guess I'm like one of those people that I'm willing to believe in stuff. Like I love like stuff about aliens. I think past life regression is really interesting. I think, like, you know, ghosts and stuff, but yeah, after, like, that kind of stuff. So I'm willing to believe in all that just because I think I like the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've also read some interesting accounts, like with the who was the guy that they call the American or United States whatever, like Nostradamus? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
He was like in the 50s or 60s. He like predicted a bunch of stuff, but he put himself in trances.
I don't know.
Oh man, I feel like I should give the name. Now I feel bad. You can look it up. But he had past life regression stuff too, and like other lives, experience of other lives. What the hell was his name?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we do have if that life force has some type of continuum,
that's the other thing, right?
Then it would make sense you'd be able to do that.
Yeah, well,
if you can remember.
Yeah, this is the other interesting thing is if that life force continues, even if the conscious self doesn't, there must be cases where something happens and that individual has some memory of these events, right? Because at each moment you're alive, you are conscious. So even if you're not on the in-between, you know, once you're in a body again, once that soul joins the body, boom, consciousness. That's how it works.
South Carolina wants to know who is your soulmate.
North Carolina.
Yeah. They deserve each other.
They really do.
South Dakota, mortal sin, Lutheranism.
Those are separate questions.
Right. Tennessee, what is truth?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's really relative, Tennessee. It depends on a standpoint.
All right.
That's the problem. I mean, I think that. I don't think there is absolute truth. I think there's only truths from a perspective.
Relative truth.
Well, what's true, because think about it. To say anything's true involves having a standpoint, having a point of view on something. We don't know anything in and of itself, so we have to have a point of view. Now, you can get better ones and worse ones, I think, but you know, it's difficult.
Yeah, like for instance, math. All of math depends upon the axioms. Like when you add numbers, the additive, the subtractive, and all the different axioms that you have there.
Yeah.
And so, like, if we say, is 2 plus 2 equal to 4, yes, that's true based upon the axioms of math.
Yeah, it's based on a certain perspective, right? You're taking a perspective on the situation, namely from mathematics.
Texas asks, why does God hate me? And are we alone in the universe? Jeez.
Should we just give generic answers to all these? Because I would say, well, obviously, and yes, we are.
Yeah.
No.
I would argue counterably, does God hate me? No.
No.
I would think the exact opposite.
God can't hate you.
I would think, are we alone in the universe? Have you ever seen X-Files or something like that?
Yeah, no, come on.
Yeah.
We're not alone. Also, just statistically, you know, it's funny because, like, they talk about the alone in the universe. Things are so far apart in the universe, and you have to have a reason to come here. So it's like, I highly doubt that we're alone. There's definitely other life out there, but it's so far away that even if they were super advanced, what's their motivation for coming all the way out here?
Right.
Well, especially when you're talking about, even at light speed, you're talking about thousands of years in certain cases or more, you know? It's like, that's a long time. So even if they did, they might have missed humanity altogether. That's the other problem. We haven't been around very long.
Yeah, very short time.
Yeah, and then the other question of, you know, what was the other one?
Why does God hate me?
Yeah, God doesn't hate anything.
It was so surprising that Texans would ask that. I always thought the Texans were like
very
God-fearing and I'm awesome.
Yeah,
I thought that was
those
like
two things usually go together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Lone Star State.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting too, because like, God definitely doesn't. At worst, God thinks of his or its creation like we think of a hammer.
Yeah.
You know. Maybe it's useful.
I don't get the analogy.
Well, like if you create something, right? You either find it valuable because you create it, so God wouldn't hate, right? Or it's just a thing that you made and you don't really care.
Okay.
So it's either indifference or care. I don't think hate doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. See, I think it's our interpretation of it. Because like if
Well,
you
yeah,
look
that's
back,
obvious.
if you look back through your life, like the dots don't connect looking forward, but they almost always connect looking backwards.
You make them
and
connect. Yeah.
and all those terrible things that happen, after a while you can kind of see a reason for them happening.
Yeah,
Now, I think that's part of it. I think the other part is that we're just not patient enough to work on God's timeline.
No,
Like
we're not.
Maybe God's timeline is super slow, but we want stuff now. And because of that, we're like, why does he hate me? Why is he not giving? I asked for that last week. Why do I not have that
it's
yet?
interesting. It's also like the question, like, because a big question for like theologians in like the Middle Ages, and I mean actually all times, I guess, was like, why do bad things happen, right? If God's all good, omniscient, beneficent, whatever, why does God allow bad things? And there's a couple different interpretations of that, but like you could say, well, okay, there are examples for people, right, so that they do the right thing and they learn how to act. And if we have free will, it is still up to us to a certain point. The other side of that, though, too, is that, well, if we're talking about God's sense of time, which is the entirety of everything, we just have a very narrow perspective. Our lives are
10,000
short.
years of infinity is not a very long time.
Or 50 or 100 years of infinity
Considering
is zero,
human life,
is nothing. Yeah, a human life is nothing compared to the total timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So if God's working on the total timeline, that's like looking out your window for 1 second and making a judgment about the quality of your neighbor, or something insane like that. You're making a flash judgment without looking at anything.
That's a good perspective.
Yeah.
So Utah, kind of similar to Oklahoma, they want to know about the Trump's religion. What religion is Melania Trump? And then they also ask Mormon stuff. And am I happy? That's an interesting question
to Google.
Yeah. You know what always bothered me?
Yeah. Well,
was that okay? People, when I'm busy doing stuff, and somebody asks like, "How are you doing?" or "Are you feeling good? Are you happy?" and I'm always like, "I was until you asked that question, and now I have to think about it."
Yeah.
Like, when I'm immersed in something and doing it, there's like never any question about that. But then when you stop and you think about it, then you can either choose reasons to be happy or you can choose reasons to not be happy, and you can always find validation for those reasons.
What's funny? I always think that like whenever I talk to you, right, like a good friend or someone I love, I always think of them as like, who are the people that when they ask how am I doing, I would answer honestly. Do you know what I mean? It's like a good criteria. Because most people, when they ask, how are you doing, it's a social thing, right? So it's just like, I'm good. Because they're not really asking, how are you doing, right? They don't necessarily care how you actually are.
And we should totally change that as a culture.
We should get rid of it.
It completely throws off the whole actual empathy of caring of how somebody's doing.
It does. And because we don't really, you don't want to know. It's a generic question.
You're just supposed to say fine.
Yeah, and it's like, you ask the person, when you're in a convenience store, you ask them how they're doing, like, you don't care. You just want to get out of there. You don't even care if they answer. It's a social fucking...
We should just do what the Hawaiians do. Just say mahalo or something like that.
Yeah, just something short and sweet and get out of there.
What up?
No, we should change that, though. I think people should be more honest. But, that again, though, I think it's a good criteria for, finding out who you're close to. Who can you be honest with about that?
Well,
anyway.
Vermont looks up chakra meditation and Buddhism.
Do they?
They do.
Interesting. Wow, they're very...
a bunch of granola people up in Vermont.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. Yeah. I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah. Virginia, what is knowledge? Is time travel possible?
Oh, well, what is knowledge is definitely a question for epistemology, and that's a whole field of philosophy. That's a difficult one.
What do you know?
And what is
all that I know is that I know nothing.
Yeah, right. I mean, Socrates said it best, right? The only thing that I know is that I know nothing. The other question is what do you mean by knowledge? Like, is it like that I know that I'm wearing like a blue shirt today, or is that not? That's like a fact. That's an empirical fact. Is that knowledge? Is that
Yeah, there was a quote that I heard a while back that said, "To know and not to do is not yet to know," because there's also a difference between intellectual knowing and actually
practical application. Well, Aristotle said that you don't know something until you can teach it. Which is interesting, right? Because you might intellectually know it, but unless you can actually impart it to others, do you actually know it? But that is a good point, though, right? The whole issue of, are you actually putting into practice these things? And what's funny? I think about that a lot, too. Like, knowing what to do with our lives, and I think most of us have a pretty good sense of it, we just don't act on it. so often, and like
The
because
answers are usually simple.
yeah, because the answers are simple, but we want
They're
it to
not
be
easy.
we want it to be more complex.
Yeah.
They're difficult in their simplicity, and it's like we want it to be more complex. We want it to be more profound, and it isn't always, and that's just it. And like you said, like when you're engaged in doing something, you're usually okay because you're focused on it, and you're actually living life.
Right.
You're active, right?
Yeah.
The problem is when we sit around all the time, which is why getting out in nature and stuff is a good thing. Going back to that point.
Yeah, but there's simple answers. I mean, if you ask probably anybody in the United States, which is probably one of the most obese countries in the world, if you ask anybody, how do you lose weight, they would have a pretty good answer. And most of the time they would be right.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part, right?
Yeah. And then, do you want to? And they're like, yeah. And then, are you? No. Of course not.
No, it's funny too. It's like the United States, right? We're only 300 and some million people, right? But we are the #1 users of pharmaceuticals. And what's interesting is a lot of those are classified as lifestyle drugs, which are drugs that you can take in lieu of changing your lifestyle, right? So like if you have like high cholesterol, blood pressure, you can take a pill, right? You can take a pill, or you can go exercise and change your diet.
Yeah.
And most people opt for the pill because then you don't have to change anything, right? It's easier.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because is it easier in the long run?
Yeah, I guess not. But
well,
it's the whole instant gratification we deal with.
Yeah, that's the other issue, right? It's that
We're
immediate
a society of instant
satisfaction.
gratification with next day delivery with Amazon. By the way, I'm hoping all these people will pick us up as sponsors.
Yeah.
Lipitor, Amazon,
mentioning stuff.
New Jersey Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, right? It wasn't that. It was something else, but whatever. We'll get there.
Yeah.
That would be really nice of them.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it would be great.
And then, let's see, Washington. Oh, yeah. Virginia also asks, is time travel possible?
Oh.
I'm under the impression that anything is possible.
Yes.
It just hasn't been, done and replicated yet.
Yeah, everything, I agree with you. I think everything's possible. Time travel is interesting because people always get caught up in all these, hypothetical paradoxes with time travel.
Yeah.
But it depends on how you look at it, right? Because if you are the one time traveling, you're still on the same line.
Yeah.
Right? You never changed, really, your line.
Yeah.
Because that was all part of it. But whatever. We don't need to get into that.
And not to mention, it could already be happening right now.
Yeah, we could actually be in it,
time travel could already be happening. Parallel universes could already be happening. And there's just all these complex timelines going on.
Or like Elon thinks, right? We could be in the Matrix.
I would think that.
I wonder that
sense.
sometimes, right?
Yeah,
because
all the time.
You think
all
about how good virtual reality and stuff is now.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, right?
Oh my god, it's so good. And it's it's crazy. We could totally be in it right now.
Mm-hmm. That would be a good episode.
Yeah,
is virtual reality. Do we live in virtual reality?
Ooh, and is virtual reality real? Anyway, we'll
write that down after this.
We won't, but we will.
Washington asks, how to be a better person.
Ooh.
Atheism is unstoppable.
Wait, what?
That's
is
not
that
a question.
Wait, atheism is unstoppable. Question.
They're just
that's weird.
Is unstoppable.
They should have put comma, right?
Yeah.
Isn't
what
it?
do you think?
It's unstoppable, right? Once you start on that path of atheism, you cannot stop
no
that
turning
train.
Back. No
it's
turning
difficult.
Back.
Where is this? Washington?
Washington State.
Oh, we're getting through these, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
How to be a better person. They also want to know that.
Yeah, how to be a better
That's
person.
an important question.
It is an important question. It's also, man, I've read so many books on the good life and ethics, and it really is self-control, I think, is a big part of it. And just being more aware of who you are and being more self-reflective. And it's not easy. That's the problem. We were just saying, right? Simple things, but very difficult to execute.
Yeah. And it's just little small changes.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for the big thing that's going to do it, and it's not. It's just a bunch of little small changes and just doing the small stuff consistently.
It's a bunch of little stuff that cumulatively, right, adds up to better. And I think a big part of that too is also being more open and more, more careful too. Think more before you talk and act. That's basically, I think, a good one to do too. Get around those biases and whatnot.
Yeah, that's one of Ben Franklin's 13 virtues is silence.
Yeah. Well, they say too, I was just heard a thing the other day on implicit bias, and all these things, and they were saying too, if you just stop somebody from acting or saying something immediately, they actually are able to effectively get around their implicit biases a bit. Not all the time, but there's a percentage increase because they've stopped and thought instead of just acting, right? Because if the implicit bias is coming from some place inside that's not necessarily intelligence or intellect, right? That thinking about it, helps. Yeah, so anyway, think.
Washington, D.C. asks or looks up Pisces, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Capricorn, Cancer. So apparently they're very interested in horoscopes.
Apparently that's all they're interested in.
Yeah, right?
Literally, that's it.
Yep.
Okay, well, we can leave that.
West Virginia, what is Scientology and how to kill yourself?
For
Wow.
some reason, those kind of make sense together.
Yeah.
Didn't somewhere else ask about
Yeah,
it?
somebody asked how to suicide, New Mexico.
That was New Mexico asked how to suicide. And
West
somebody,
Virginia,
didn't somebody else?
how to kill yourself.
Oh, and yeah. And Scientology is interesting. You know, you can get the Scientology book if you really want to. It's, I mean, it's interesting. It's very sci-fi. I mean, which is kind of implied, I guess, in the name.
Yeah, I guess they're interested in that.
Yeah.
You know, I heard things about West Virginia, and it's fun making all these generalizations.
It
because
is.
They don't have to be true.
No, they're
But,
not at all.
That's apparently where all the serial killers go and everything down in West Virginia. That's what I heard.
Oh, from
I don't
the
know
East
if it's
Coast?
true.
I guess people say that though
It's
because
an easy place to go hide
West
out.
Virginia has like the mountains and stuff, and it's like, you know, when you're from like New Jersey and stuff where it's very crowded,
Yeah.
it's like hiding is like, I mean, you could go to Pine Barrens, I guess, and hide, right?
Oh,
but
dude,
like,
there's tons of area
you
there.
could go to West Virginia and there's a lot of area and there's these small towns. I think that's why people say it. You know, it's like being out in the Midwest and going to these towns with like very few people. It's amazing.
Wisconsin Lutheran Church, and then Wyoming Voodoo, L. Ron Hubbard, Yin and Yang.
Hey, look at Wyoming asking about very different religious perspectives,
And they spell voodoo wrong, by the way.
Yeah, they do.
They spell it V-U-D-U.
which is interesting also. Maybe that's not. Maybe we're thinking of like voodoo. Maybe that's something else. Is there a thing that's? Wait, is there a thing that's
voodoo.
Is that like a video service?
Voodoo.
Actually, I think that is a video service.
Well, why would it be under spirituality then?
Because
Unless
this is
it's a
probably
mistake.
using an algorithm, and maybe the algorithm made a mistake.
Yeah, mistake.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
L. Ron Hubbard is interesting though too.
Yeah.
I wonder if they wanted Scientology or they just wanted like his life story.
Yeah. So those were the most popular queries by state. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that was
makes for a
fun.
pretty good episode. Yeah, that was fun going through
that was a lot of fun. We'll do this again with more questions, maybe more queries and stuff, and see what we can find.
Yeah, but we'll be back every week with another episode. So if you do enjoy this, like it, subscribe. And,
like it,
we'll be
subscribe,
talking
and we'll be back. Absolutely.
to you. All right. Good talking to you, Danny.
Good talking to you, Randy.
All right. Peace.
Later.